Hey everyone, I'm your host Cadence, and welcome back to another episode of Project Honesty, a podcast designed for young adults, by a young adult, to gain brutally honest, friend-like advice, as well as provide a platform for young adults to form opinions, color outside of the lines, take deep dives into current events, and most importantly, have fun. This is Project Honesty, navigating reality with real conversations and diverse opinions. If you haven't already, go check out last week's episode called Coddled and Covered, the problems with Sephora kids and their parents. Where have all the outside children gone? With the new generation being raised by gentle parents, entitled kids who are big spenders at the outlets are a common sight. Engaging in routines that were previously exclusive for older teens and adults, kids are spending more time inside than ever, starting at younger ages every year. What are the results? And what will happen with the next gen? That is available on Spotify and YouTube. And I hope everyone is enjoying their Labor Day long weekend. I know I am, because school has officially started last week, and so having a 3-day break from that is awesome. If you haven't already, please go check out the Instagram. That is where we release every single weekly topic. Today's topic is artificial intelligence, or AI. It's kind of a hot topic right now and has been within the last year, and there's some controversy surrounding this technology and its uses. I want to talk about the origins of AI, what companies are using AI to advance their platforms and technology, the benefits of AI technology, so the role it can play in educational and professional settings, and its efficiency and convenience. And I also want to talk about the downsides of AI, so the environmental downsides, the cost, is it actually efficient, and just some other problems that occur when using AI. Just getting right into it, there is a consensus around the groundwork of AI technology. So in the mid-1950s, I believe it was 1956, Dartmouth professor John McCarthy created a 2-month-ish, he called it a summer workshop. And he invited a small group of researchers from many different backgrounds and studies to research and investigate the possibility of, quote, thinking machines. John McCarthy was also the person who coined the term artificial intelligence, and he used this term to describe human-like machines. This workshop at Dartmouth was just the beginning of the excitement in the industry of AI technology, and it was kind of the pilot to what AI technology could become. Years after that workshop, about 10 years after that workshop, in 1966, a computer scientist from MIT named Joseph Weizenbaum, I think I'm saying that right, Weizenbaum, he created the first AI chatbot named Eliza. It reused and repurposed answers that it received from the user to prompt questions and further conversation. That is known as the Rogerian argument. Weizenbaum had to convince people that Eliza is not human based on how real the responses were. People were questioning how this technology was even a thing, and Weizenbaum was kind of the founder of the AI chatbot idea, and Eliza was just kind of our first step towards what it means to have AI technology in our lives and what an AI chatbot can mean, because again, his test subjects didn't even realize that Eliza wasn't a human. They didn't know it was a computer. Weizenbaum had to explain that Eliza was a computer. And so after artificial intelligence research initiatives were launched at universities and research institutes across the United States, so places like Stanford, and then we see MIT and Dartmouth. After all these institutions decided to invest in researching AI technology, the American Association of Artificial Intelligence was created in the 1980s. This association served the purpose to create and connect a solidified research community for AI technology across these various institutions. So instead of having 6 different projects happening at one time, the American Association of Artificial Intelligence created kind of this space that was dedicated to AI research, no matter the institute that research was being conducted at. And so throughout the late 80s and into the 90s, the excitement about early advancements in AI technology kind of quieted down. This was due to a lack of funding and just a general lack of progress in research. Then fast forwarding to the 2000s, we see a real renewed interest in AI technology, as well as profound growth within this industry. So, for example, in 2004, NASA was using AI technology on their rovers Spirit and Opportunity to help them traverse Mars, because Mars is a very rocky place. It has a lot of diverse terrain. So NASA decided to use AI on their rovers to make sure that it didn't have to be controlled by a human the whole time, and these rovers could continue research efforts without being monitored by a human. And then there's also another company called IBM Watson's specifically. So their program Deep Blue back in, I think it was the 90s or the early 2000s, finally beat a world chess champion after having been defeated in previous years. And so after this success, they created another competitive computer system in 2011, which we now know as Jeopardy. And I don't know if any of you have watched Jeopardy, but I love watching it with my grandma. It's very fun. Jeopardy is amazing. IBM Watson was the company that created Jeopardy. They were the founders of that. Before it was a game show, it was a computer game. And then also in 2011, Apple introduced their groundbreaking virtual assistant we call Siri. And then in 2014, so 3 years later, Amazon released their version called Alexa. These technologies were known as command and control systems. So meaning that they still have limitations. They're programmed to know a long list of questions. They have thousands of questions that they can answer, but there is still things that they cannot answer if it's outside of their preset parameters. Though this technology was quite groundbreaking, having a virtual assistant in Apple and Amazon's new technology, it still wasn't as good as we have it now in the 2020s. And so then fast forwarding to 2020 and beyond, we see an explosion of AI technology use. Generative AI has now come into play. That's AI that can produce text and images and videos and more even. The company called OpenAI created the generative pre-trained transformer, or what us normal people call a GPT, and that is where the name Chat GPT comes from. Generative AI learns and gathers information from across the whole internet. So every corner of the internet, generative AI has access to. So this was new compared to old models that had preset inquiries and parameters. This kind of gave a new meaning to artificial intelligence. Generative AI is very, very new. In 2020, the GPT-3 was created with 175 billion parameters. This alone signaled major development in the AI technology sector because the previous GPTs were only trained to a maximum of, 1.5 billion? And so in 2020, by taking that step and increasing those parameters to 175 billion, these technologies went through significant growth. And then in 2022, the company who created the GPT-3, OpenAI, made the platform we all know as Chat GPT. Since the creation of Chat GPT, many other companies have kind of made their own version of AI. They also started incorporating AI technology to enhance user experience. So we see Google has created Gemini. Gemini can receive images, text, video, and can perform research on, I think it's like Pixel devices or something. So that's what Google has been doing. I know Wix.com has generative AI features to help users with text and image. Adobe uses it, Grammarly, Netflix, Microsoft, Meta. So Meta is like Facebook, Instagram, things like that. Tesla, Boeing, ExxonMobil, Johnson & Johnson. So really big names in numerous different industries across the globe that are worth billions of dollars have started using this AI technology. And you might be wondering why. What are the benefits of using AI? So I have some researched answers, but then I also have some answers that I just have from my personal life and my personal experience using AI. Using AI technology can decrease human error and risk. So not eliminate, but decrease. So instead of humans doing dangerous jobs, I know that during my research, it said that there's a lot of jobs that involve radiation exposure. We can now instead have computers do that dangerous job instead of a human who is susceptible to radiation poisoning and other health issues that come with radiation exposure. They don't have to do that job anymore, and we can replace it with computers that don't injure human life at all. So obviously AI isn't perfect, but this is definitely a big step when we can make workplaces more safe with this technology. Another benefit of AI, not specifically for like personal use, but definitely for companies, is 24-hour availability. So with humans only working a certain amount of hours, the use of computers that can work 24/7 is beneficial to many workplaces. So anywhere, like any workplace can benefit from this, whether it's customer service or not. And it can provide customer support all day, any day. And it improves customer experience. Because if you think about it, like some businesses, they're closed on, I don't know, Christmas, let's just say that. Now, with AI virtual assistants, consumers can still get the answers that they want without having a real like human interaction, which can also be a little bit of a problem, but we're going to get into that in a second. And another thing is, since generative AI has been created and it absorbs all different areas of the internet, and the fact that robots have no emotion or bias, AI technology provides a generally unbiased decision-making platform. Robots don't have feelings nor a bias. And so most of the time, and I say most because again, the internet is biased one way or the other. And if this AI computer is receiving information from both sides, it's going to tend to lie in the middle, but there is some issues with it being biased at some points. But generally, overall, AI can provide a very unbiased decision. Kind of like a coin flip. Another amazing thing about AI is medical AI. I've been seeing this in the news recently, and it's actually quite fascinating. AI technology is helping doctors recognize diseases faster and how to treat them better. It's just incredible the fact that we can use that now in the healthcare system because it can save so many lives. If we're catching diseases faster and earlier with using AI, I'd say that's quite an incredible feat based on, like, if you go back years and years, it is quite incredible what AI has done in the medical field. So some of the personal benefits that I've seen come out of AI use. So I've split it into kind of like two sections. So first off is education. Now, I have used AI in school, but not in the way that you think. I get stuck on introductions, especially when it comes to writing. So sometimes I use it for sentence starters or to just get me started on my writing. And it's actually been really helpful. I know that a lot of people actually do this, and I think at my old school, we used to do it sometimes, but using AI as a sentence starter is so amazing. Like, it's incredible what it can spark in your brain to start writing. And I do that not only in school, just like if I write for fun, like I need sentence starters, I tend to use AI. And then in professional settings, so I actually use Chat GPT to make my episode titles. I have always hated, like since having this podcast, I have hated trying to come up with a creative title that was eye-catching and that was still informative but really brief. So I kind of just like a few episodes in, I was like, okay, I can't do this. So I started using AI to create them for me. And so I just put in the topic and I ask for a title, and then it gives me like 10 different ones that I get to choose from. And I usually I fix them up myself a little bit, like especially the second part of the title. I usually write my own thing in there, but it's very helpful to have that as a tool when it comes to making titles. I've also used AI to write my biography. I've had to use my biography a couple times for a few different things, and I literally can't write it on my own. So I just have AI do it for me. Which might sound pathetic, but it's true. Some other examples is, so I got these from my mom. So at my mom's work, they have an AI system built into their emails. So it helps people write emails more professionally. And they also use AI bots for data entry. So it helps make manual data entry more efficient. So all of these are just the real benefits of using AI technology in and outside of the workplace and why it can be helpful to humans. Now, with every positive, there is usually a downside. The downsides of AI and generative AI are split into a couple different categories, but I'm just going to go through them one by one. So first, cost. It can cost companies millions of dollars to create and run their own AI platforms. It's not just the cost of computers themselves that makes AI expensive. It's the land that hosts these computers, because you had to buy land for the availability of computers. And that's a lot of money for companies to be spending. When you talk about the land, it addresses another issue, which is the environment. The consumption of thousands of megawatt hours and the overuse of electricity causes carbon emissions to skyrocket. Sometimes these carbon emissions can equal the same amount emitted by hundreds of thousands of homes in the United States just within 1 year. And that's a real big problem, because we already know by driving gas cars, by going to work, by doing anything, you are releasing carbon into the atmosphere. And with so many people using AI technology, the more carbon being emitted, because the computers are using more energy. A thing called AI model training is something that can cause the evaporation of fresh water due to data center heat rejection. So this puts a strain on our already limited freshwater sources. The amount of electricity used to run AI technology has caused a projected 6% increase of electricity use in the United States. Now, that doesn't seem like a lot, but that puts a lot of pressure on power grid infrastructure. And if you think about it, the power grid powers a whole city. And when you put AI technology on there, it puts so much strain on that system and putting that grid at risk of an outage or a blackout, which is not good at all. There's a lot of fossil fuel combustion, so that causes air pollution, thermal water pollution, which I didn't even know was a thing, but the production of solid waste that includes hazardous materials that can compromise fresh waterways. Moving away from environmental impacts, AI overall lacks human emotion and creativity, so no matter how good we make the system, AI can never replace the real emotion that humans produce. Education is a big one. Students using AI to cheat and cut corners. Now, I know most schools, including mine, have AI detectors built into their submission systems, so they'll scan any document to see how much of it is AI generated. These systems are obviously not perfect, but they are pretty accurate. There's a lot of ethical problems wrong with AI. How the people producing this technology are being treated and compensated. And it reminds me of the time that in school I read a story about how workers, I don't know if it was for Chat GPT. It was for an AI chatbot company. And they were suffering emotionally because to advance technology, like AI technology, you need human input. And so they were reading and receiving information from users, and some of them were morbid and explicit. I know that story specifically that I read in school was about these employees having to read about child pornography from users and all that information, and them not knowing what to do because the company didn't tell them how to deal with a situation like that. So there's a lot of ethical problems when it comes to the AI industry. Another thing, it kind of ties into ethics, but identity theft. So AI companies using celebrity voices for user consumption. A lot of you may have heard of the incident with a voiceover company using Scarlett Johansson's voice for their AI virtual assistant without her knowledge or consent, which is a huge problem because it wouldn't have been such a big deal if they said, "Hey, Scarlett, can we use your voice for this? And we're going to pay you for it," or whatever. But the fact that they didn't even ask her and they just took her voice from the internet, because when you're a celebrity, your voice is everywhere, and just used it for their virtual assistant and didn't ask. And that's becoming a really, really big problem that celebrities have to deal with, especially with the advancement of AI technology. Another really big problem is scammers. They recreate voices to manipulate their victims to think that their family's calling them, and they use this as a way to get money. Especially like old people are very vulnerable to this. I've seen it all over. But since that these scammers can take anyone's voice off the internet and basically change it to say whatever it wants, that's scary, especially if an old person picks up the phone and it says, oh, like, Mom, I'm being kidnapped or something. It's a big problem because they can't tell if it's real or not because it sounds so real. So that's a big problem with ethics and identity theft and that side of AI. Another really big problem is the reduced jobs for humans. So with this AI technology quickly taking over many jobs in multiple different industries, not just the technology industry, many jobs have been taken over, and it leaves so many people jobless because they worked to go to school. They thought they were going to get the job that they always dreamed of, and they come to find out that it's actually taken over by a robot, which is a really, really big problem. And kind of the last downside that I want to talk about is there is no improvement without human intervention. So without the aid of humans, AI would not be where it is today. Because if you think about it, AI is fed by humans. We give it the information for it to do the things that it does. And so for it to grow further, it needs humans to help it learn more information. To conclude this episode, I want to know, where do you stand on AI technology? Do you support it? Are you against it? Have you used it? And if so, what have you used it for? And you can let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Project Honesty. You can find Project Honesty on Spotify at Project Honesty or on YouTube at Project_Honesty. And to keep up to date with new episodes, you can head over to Project Honesty's Instagram, which is at Project_Honesty24. We also have a TikTok, which is at Project.Honesty. And to help spread this podcast everywhere, tell a friend or share with family about Project Honesty, and you can direct them over to the Instagram, the TikTok, the Spotify, or the YouTube to help them learn more. Remember to subscribe, follow, and click the bell icon for updates when I post. And remember, the more listeners, the bigger the family.